All right, hello class, and welcome to English 3010, the hybrid version of English 3010. My name is Mr. Shumway. I'll be your instructor for the semester. So let me just take this moment to really quick just kind of welcome you all into the class. I'm really excited to get to know all of you, especially because this is kind of a hybrid class. It'd be cool to kind of get to know you in a face-to-face setting and then see you kind of interact online. And so I'm really excited about this new kind of style of class that we're teaching. So what I want to do today is I want to quickly just kind of introduce you to the class, get you set up for your first week, and just kind of get you acquainted with how this class will work in general. Now, this is a hybrid class, which means a lot of the work that we do and throughout the semester will be done online. And so if you've never taken an online course, it can be a little bit daunting. And so part of what I do today will be to walk you through how I've set up the course and where you can go to find any of the information you might need. But first I want to start out with the syllabus. We're just going to hit a couple quick points. I'm not going to go over the whole thing. You will be expected to go over the whole thing on your own. There actually is a syllabus quiz at the end of the week. But I wanted to bring in a few key points just for you guys to be aware of as you kind of acquaint yourselves to the class. So again, this is a hybrid class, which means we'll do our work in face-to-face and online settings. I'll do my best to help make sure that you are on top of everything, but however, it is your responsibility to make sure that you're aware of things like due dates, what assignments are coming up, when we meet, what my expectations are. So again, because an online class is largely self-motivated, the ball really is in your court to make sure that these things happen. So I won't be checking in with you about homework and things like that. So make sure that you are constantly aware of what's coming up and what needs to be turned in. And that'll be really easy, and I'll show you how in just a minute. You can go ahead and read the description on your own, but essentially what English 3010 is it's an opportunity for you to investigate the professional or academic community of your choosing. So essentially what we're looking at is we're trying to get you acquainted with whatever field it is you want to work in or interact within when you graduate. And so, you could look at, what career are you going for, or if you're going for, kind of a secondary degree, what degree are you going for? So those are the communities that we're going to be focused on, not, current like Tim Hortons or McDonald's or wherever you're working right now. We're looking at like these kind of communities that you want to join in the future, these academic or professional communities. And so throughout the semester, each of our assignments will have you investigate different aspects of those communities in order to figure out how members communicate, how they interact, how they share ideas, how they write, how they do research. And you'll get a chance to kind of explore all those different modes so that when you, kind of as you progress through your education, you'll be, already acquainted with some of those ideas. So I want to go down here. We have 4 learning outcomes that all of our assignments are centered around: read, write, research, and reflection. Each of our projects will focus on one of or more of these in particular. We do have a required text, the Wordsworth Guide to Research. It's in the bookstore for you to pick up. And what we're going to be using this book for is more of a kind of a writing tool. And so this book will help flesh out a lot of the ideas that we're thinking about in terms of writing strategies and research strategies and things like that. And so it's a really good tool to have, not only in this class, but as you continue to write throughout the rest of your college career. We have several major projects. We have a research guide, a genre analysis, a literature review, and then tacked on to that literature review we have a multimodal presentation, a formal research proposal, and then a final reflective letter. As we approach each of these projects, we'll go into detail about them. Obviously, we're going to start out with Project 1, which is a research guide. But as you'll see as we go into the semester, each one of these projects actually builds on top of one another. In fact, Project 3 is going to be largely folded into Project 4. And so what you'll see as you complete these projects is a really nice trajectory, and so you're never going to be kind of left to wonder, why are we doing what we're doing. Each of these projects will help you pursue some new knowledge about the community that you want to join. Everything will be submitted on Blackboard. Okay, so here's some of the stuff that I really wanted to focus on. I do peer review in this class. However, because it's a hybrid class, I don't want to spend a lot of our face-to-face time just doing peer workshops. And so what I'll do by next week is I'll divide you guys into online groups of 3 or 4 people, and those will be the groups that you workshop your papers with for the rest of the semester. So stay tuned for that. You'll also have blogs and other kind of little assignments throughout the semester, and you'll see those here in a moment. You need a C or better to fulfill the Gen Ed requirements. That means you can still pass with a C-. However, it will not count for your Gen Ed requirements. So make sure you're keeping an eye on your submissions and make sure you're keeping those grades up. Attendance policy, this is an online class, so I don't really take attendance in terms of the online stuff. However, I will be taking attendance during a face-to-face class. And that's something that I mentioned in the email that I just sent out earlier this morning. Essentially, besides Monday during our class meeting time, you are free to complete this work as you choose, or not as you choose, but when you choose throughout the week. Now, there are assignments that are going to be due on specific days. For example, rough drafts will always be due on Friday, but the way you pace yourself is totally up to you. I will not sit down in front of the computer on Wednesday, for example, and expect you all to be online meeting with me at the same time. This is supposed to be a little bit more flexible for you guys. And so besides Monday, when you complete this work throughout the week is up to you. Plagiarism policy, you know what plagiarism is by now. However, I also want to talk about some of the other academic dishonesty things, like submitting a paper you wrote last semester for this class. That's wrong. That's unacceptable. So make sure you're producing all new work for this class. And take a minute as you go on to look through the email etiquette kind of idea. Other thing, late work will not be accepted unless we agree on an extension beforehand, and I'm talking about a day or two beforehand. Don't email me 10 minutes before the due date and say, hey, can I get an extension? The answer is going to be no. If some real thing happens that prevents you from completing it on time, talk to me and we can figure it out. If you come to me after a due date, I'm sorry, whatever the problem is, it's going to be a no. So you have to meet with me beforehand, online, or talk me through email, and we'll figure something out. All right. So that's all I wanted to do in the syllabus. Again, take a look at the rest of it on your own time in order to get acquainted with it, because I don't want to spend all of our time right now talking about the syllabus stuff. What I really want to focus in on is how the class is set up, and then I want to move into what our first kind of jumping off point is for the work that we'll be doing. So as you'll see over here, we've got a couple different tabs going on. We've got the syllabus here, where you'll find the syllabus that I just put up. The weekly assignments, tasks, reading. So any reading that you do that's not in the Wadsworth Guide will be here. And so if you click on that, you'll see all the readings are already up there for you. Okay. What I want to focus on is this weekly tasks and assignments. So you'll see that I've divided the entire semester into different folders based on what weeks they're corresponding to, and each week's corresponds to a specific project. We see project 1 covers weeks 1 through 3, 4 through 6 is project 2, 7, 11, etc., etc. And so what you'll do is when you come into the Blackboard for the first time, if you haven't been there yet, go ahead and click on our project 1, and here's what you'll get. So you'll get the project 1 research guide. Now this is the same project description that you'll see in the syllabus. Again, all of the projects are laid out in the syllabus. It's the same thing here, as well as the rest of the folders for that week. And so your first step will be to come into whatever week we're in, go down to your folder, for example, week 1, and click here. Now you'll see each week has something that looks just like this. You'll have your basic tasks for the week. So step 1, watch the video. Step 2, do the following stuff. Step 3, step 4. Okay. And now what I've done is I've laid out a potential schedule for you to follow. So Monday I've left blank because that will be our face-to-face class. Then you can see Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for each week I have suggested things that you should be doing. Now, you don't have to do this. You could certainly do all of this on Friday or Thursday if you wanted, or Tuesday, whatever it is you want to do. Just make sure that you are aware if there are certain due dates throughout the week that you're meeting those. And so let's take a look at, and just real quick, and so you'll see that for each one of our weeks. And so that's how this class is broken down. So for example, week 2, same thing, right? And all of this also corresponds to the schedule that is all the way at the bottom. Yeah, so this is on the syllabus as well. And just real quick, for all of the projects, I've also put the rubric that I'll be using to grade them on the syllabus as well. So you have project descriptions, my rubric, and the schedule as a whole all on the syllabus. Okay. So let's go into week 1. Let's focus here for a minute. So what we're doing for this first project is we're going to kind of get our toes wet. The first task that we need to do is to figure out what community it is you actually want to research. And so again, this has to be a professional or an academic community. Not kind of your local summer job or whatever. This is something that you are studying to go into, something that has published research, that has experts, things like that. That's what we're looking for. And so our first goal for this week is to figure out what community are you interested in, and then we're going to start to figure out how it is we want to go about researching that community. So our goal for Project 1 is to figure out what makes this community tick. What's defining this community? And there's a couple ways that we're going to do that. The first one is we're going to use a term called a discourse community. And so if you're not familiar with that from many of your other classes, what a discourse community is it's a community of individuals that are all united together in order to achieve some sort of common goal. For example, lawyers would be a discourse community. They all share a common goal of practicing law, and they all do similar things. Same with teachers, same with any of the professions that you can think of. And so what our goal is for this first project is to try to figure out how your community fits that definition of discourse community. And so what we're going to do, if we come into here, is we've got some reading that will help us get in there and do that. We've got the Swales in particular, this concept of discourse community under here. What Swales does is he gives us a really good 6-step criteria for figuring out what makes a group tick. Okay, and the easiest way to do this is if you just click on this Wikipedia entry here, and it'll bring you to something like this. So this is going to give us a little crash course on what a discourse community is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a research guide that tries to figure out how your community fits these first 6 steps. We're going to focus on these first 6. So what are the common goals of your community? How do members in the community communicate? How do members exchange information and provide feedback to each other? What kind of genres do they use? For example, academic articles or memos or anything like that. Any kind of tools that members use to communicate. Lexis or jargon. What kind of jargon does your community use? And what kind of expertise is necessary to be a member of the community? Sorry. And so I know that's a lot, but essentially what we're going to be looking at is how does your community fit the bill? How does it fit those 6 characteristics? And all of this will be much more clear when you start to read through this. And so your goal for this week to begin to do that work is to start here. We're going to start with we're going to start reading the Wordsworth Guide Part 4 in Chapter 1. What this is going to do is it's going to give us a good way of thinking about how to identify the kind of rhetorical situation that you'll be observing in your community. If you don't know what a rhetorical situation is, basically what we're thinking about is all of the things that influence the way people communicate. That's a rhetorical situation. And so as you're going through and researching your community, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking at what's influencing people as they communicate. What's influencing the way they write, what's influencing the things they write about, what's influencing the kind of words they use, the sentence structure they use, all of these things. Okay, and so that's something that we'll be looking at. And so this is a really good first step to figuring out kind of how to think about rhetorical situation in that way. The other thing we'll be doing is reading about the discourse community stuff that I just really quickly glossed over. So take a minute to acquaint yourself with these, and then we'll come back in after you've had a chance to read those to really hit this kind of hard about how to think about your community as a discourse community. And then finally, we'll be doing some blogs and quizzes. Okay. So in other words, this is an introductory week, obviously. And so our goal is to just get you acquainted with the basic concepts we'll be using before we really move into doing the nitty-gritty work of Project 1. The other stuff you'll be doing this week is you'll be doing a blog that you post here. So just come in here and create your own blog entry, answer these questions. And so you'll see here you've got 4 things to do. Introduce yourself, identify the community that you want to check out, identify things you do and don't know about this community already, and finally draft a research plan for finding out this information. So in other words, what are some ways that you might learn more about your community? You know, I might research, I might ask somebody, I might do this, I might do that. And so just general broad strokes, how are you going to go about starting to think about this community? Okay, and then finally you have your syllabus quiz, which is just, did you read the syllabus? Answer these questions. All right, so the one thing that I want to point out is that you should start to think about is one of the tasks of Project 1 is going to be to try to get in contact with someone working in the field that you're interested in. Sorry. And so what I want you to do is I want you to start to think about, who might you contact? So if you're interested in medicine, is there someone in the medical field you could contact? And if not, you can start to think about, well, if I don't know anyone, how would I go about introducing myself to someone? So start to think about who you might talk to in order to learn more about this community. Sorry. And start to acquaint yourself with these concepts. Now I'll be posting another video later in the week just because this is our first week. And in that video, probably on Friday or Saturday, I'll do a lot of going over the actual assignment description for Project 1. So for now, just get started with the readings, and we will chat later. All right, guys, it's been great. I'm looking forward to this semester. I'm happy that you're in this class, and I will talk to you later.